Good day, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thanks for joining me on today. It is a great day and I'm excited to be here on today. I get my mic issue here. Okay. My name is Deb Howard, in case you didn't know. Your Abundant Life Coach. And I'm excited again to be here as we continue our discussion on this morning of goals and barriers to goals. That's actually what we're going to continue to talk about. We left off in our last episode talking about some barriers to achieving goals, to goal setting. And so I really kind of want to continue that discussion because I do think it's important for us to have a good idea of what it is that could be a hindrance to us. If we can't identify, what barriers are standing before us, they remain invisible. They remain the barrier remains invisible. So you really do have to have an eye. And sometimes we need it called out, right? We need to really define those things that could be standing in the way. All right. And so today we're really going to talk about probably a bigger one, all right? Because we live in a time where it's easy to cast blame. Listen, there's plenty of blame to go around, right? For everything in life, whether it's the economy, it's the president's fault, or how you were raised, or, things that have happened in our life. There's plenty of blame to go around, plenty of things to blame, plenty of people to blame for why you are where you are. I am not exempt from that. There are plenty of people that I could blame. But we're going to explore really what it means to take full ownership. The buck stops here. You probably heard that before, right? The buck stops here. And one of the barriers that can keep us from really achieving our goals is continuing to blame other issues or other people. Listen, I'm not saying things haven't happened in your life, things have happened in my life, okay? I'm not saying that people haven't wronged you, people have wronged you, people have wronged me. But what I am saying is that as long as we continue to blame, right, someone else or something else for our situation, we leave ourselves powerless to change. You can't change if it's someone else's fault. You can't change your circumstance. You can't get out of debt if it's someone else's fault, right? Whether you incur the debt or someone else, if it's in your name, I don't know what else to say. So we have to get to a place, in our walk that we are able to take full responsibility for the where our life is today. Right? Sometimes we're blaming past situations. Listen, I haven't met a person yet that hasn't been impacted by childhood in some way. Something happened in all our childhood, right? Whether big or small. We have to move past that and we have to begin to take responsibility for where we are. Can I tell you a quick story? And I've told this story before. Something happened in my childhood, and it was really, for most people, it would seem very small. I'm walking to the store. So I lived right across the street from the store growing up. Our home was right across the street from a grocery store, big grocery store. So um, for the longest time, my parents wouldn't let me walk to the store by myself, even though they literally could see me till I got to the door of the grocery store. But I finally got to the point where they said, "Hey, yes, you can walk to the store by yourself." Now, I'm a kid now. I'm probably 9 or 10. I'm somewhere in there. I'm a kid. So I walk across the street. All right, there's a medium, there's, two-way street. So I get across the street where the store is, and I'm walking towards through the parking lot. And I'm sure she was a teenager. When you're a kid, everybody looks old, but I'm sure it was a teenager. But this lady, in my eyes, walked up to me and she said, "You are the ugliest person I've ever seen. You are the ugliest girl I've ever seen in my life." Now, of course, because I was taught not to talk to strangers, I ran. But I never forgot that. Y'all, I carried that with me forever. And I use that as a reason not to do certain things. Even when I decided that I wanted to uh, start a business and do all the things, I used my appearance as a reason not to want to go live, not to want to be in front of people. It was a real struggle. Even when I was in ministry, I always had that in the back of my head. And I also used that as a reason not to connect with people because I was always afraid, hey, I don't look good enough to be with that group. I really thought that. And I thought that for the longest. And I use that as an example because at some point I had to, even in that situation, right? I had to be healed and I had to take responsibility. That listen, I can't allow what that person said and how it impacted me. I can't allow that to continue to hold me back from moving forward and what I know I need to do. Because I could have just stayed there. Now that's a small thing I know to most of you guys, but it was something that impacted me for a long time. And I use that because yes, we all have things. So I want you to really get in a space where you're able to identify the things in your life or the barriers that may be holding you back. And it has to start with the buck stops here, right? You've got to take responsibility. All right. And so, some reasons why we may avoid taking responsibility obviously is the fear factor, right? That's what I had, the fear factor. I was afraid that people would see me as that kid, that lady, that teenager saw me umpteen years ago. That I carried with me umpteen years. So I was afraid of that, you know. Good morning, Coach Love. I was afraid that people would see that in me and not like me, not want to be around me. They would see that, she's ugly. That's one among things, right? So it's hard for us to take responsibility because of fear. Sometimes it's because of fear of failure, right? And I think for me, that falls right into it, right? That fear of failure. If I get around them, they might not like me. That's failure, right? When people don't like you, that, at least in my eyes, that's a failure, right? And so fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of the weight that that responsibility might bring, right? Gosh, I can connect with that, believe me. There are some things that sometimes God calls us to carry, and it just seems like too much. It seems like it, right? But he never gives us more than we can bear. But that fear of that responsibility, fear of disappointing others, right? Fear that, people will not like or things won't live up to their expectations. But we have to be conscious of that thing could be there, right? The fear factor could be one of the barriers that's really keeping us from achieving our goals, even setting goals. Sometimes we can't even set goals because we're afraid, right? We're afraid of failing. We're afraid that, this is too much for me, or I'm not going to be good at it, or it's not going to be successful. But we have to do the things, right? We have to do what God called us to do. We have to do what's in our heart. All right. Let me go not get too deep in that because I see my clock back there. But God has not given us the spirit of fear. We know that, right? First Timothy 1:7, but a power, love, and of a sound mind. So responsibility is empowering and not burdensome. At least it should be, right? The second barrier, another one that I've lived through too, is that victim mentality. Another reason why we avoid responsibility is the comfort of the victim mentality. It's easier to blame other people. It's easier to blame other people, right? For what has happened to us, for why we're not where we need to be. It's easy. Listen, there are so many people, and I'm just talking money right now. Let's just talk money, right? Not gonna get too deep. There's so many people I could blame for my past situations and maybe to an extent my present, right? But because I made some decisions, I co-signed for stuff, I did stuff, y'all, stupid stuff back in the day, right? That lived with me for a while, right? But that's the victim mentality. That's the decision I made, right? You know, if you co-sign for someone like I have, that's a decision we made, and we're responsible. And yes, you not to say you shouldn't try to get your funds, not to say you shouldn't pursue whatever actions you want to pursue. But the bottom line is you can't blame anyone else because you made the decision. I made the decision. And so what the victim mentality does, it traps us. It causes us not to be able to see anything outside of the box that we've created. If you're a victim and that's how you see yourself, right? That it's someone else's fault. It's that situation's fault. It's because of that happened in my past. You know, that situation, how I was raised. It's my parents' fault. Right? Heck, it might even be the church's fault. What they've taught me. You know, they put me in this situation. But at some point, we've got to take responsibility, y'all. We've got to take responsibility. And we've got to come out of that victim mentality. It's very popular, especially on social media, to be a victim, right? Now, that's why GoFundMe's are so popular. Not throwing any shade to any GoFundMe's, but that is why, because people are victims and people feed into a victim mentality. Ah, yeah, people feed into that. So I need us, if we're going to really be all that God called us to be, we've got to come out of the victim mentality. We got to understand that, look, this is on me. I know what happened. I know what I've been through. I know choices I made, whatever, right? We all got a story there. But we've got to understand that right, he who is within us is greater than he who is in the world, right? I cannot be a victim if the power of God dwells within me. I cannot be a victim. Can you be a victim if the spirit of the living God that created heaven and earth dwells within you? How in the world can you be a victim? Right? So it's a mind game that we play with ourselves. It's just perception, how we're looking at things. And I'm not saying the thing didn't happen to you. I'm not saying that at some point you were victimized, right? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that we've got to come to a place of healing and restoration so that we can say, listen, I'm no longer a victim. I had to say, listen, I don't have time today, but I definitely went through that in my own life. I had I had to make the decision that I'm no longer going to be a victim. I'm no longer going to blame everyone else or everything else or him or her or that or this. Right? I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to do it. Right? I'm going to pay the price. You know, it costs to be the boss. All right. So we have to come out of that. And then last but not least, because we're gonna end this up, is cultural influences. Our society often encourages blame shifting. Right, social media can amplify this by promoting narratives of entitlement or excuses. But as believers and leaders, listen, we're called to a higher standard. Listen, I'm not saying, and gosh, my personality, I hate injustice. I that is one reason why I rarely watch the news because I hate injustice and it gets under my skin. Right? So, I'm not saying that we should not fight injustices. Right? I'm not saying that we shouldn't recognize wrongs and try to correct them. But what I am saying is we can't live in a place of blame. We just can't. We can't get caught up in that culture of just blame. If you get on social media, you don't have to scroll long before you start seeing some things, some posts about people blaming, right? Whether it's the government, the president, whoever, right? You won't have to, the pastors, the church, everybody is to blame right now. But we've got to come out of that because we are kingdom leaders, right? We are kingdom wealth warriors. We are people that God has called out in this hour with a mandate. I'm going to say it, yes, with a mandate to live not only in abundance, but to create wealth so that we can be a blessing, so that we can have an impact on some of the wrongs that are in this earth. Listen, we can blame all day long, but we need to get in a position where we can make an impact. You don't like who's in charge right now? Get in a position where you can make an impact. Yeah, you can make an impact with it. It takes a little change, but you can make an impact. And so, what I'm encouraging us to do is just that, to come out of that place of, it's everyone else's fault, because the buck does stop here. It stops with me, it stops with you. If you are going to change your life, if you are going to live the life that you so desire to live, then you've got to get to a place where it's on me, right? Me and the power of God that's in me. I'm not going to keep looking outward, right? I'm not going to keep looking out. I'm not going to keep looking to the government. I'm not going to keep even looking to the pastor when I have the living God. Come on now. And not to say you shouldn't listen to your pastor, but you get what I'm saying, right? It can't be his fault what he taught you or what he didn't teach you, right? So we've got to get out of that place and get to a place where we're willing to grow, right? We're talking about development. We're talking about personal growth. And this is scriptural. So listen, let me give you a couple of scriptures because we got to get out of here, y'all. Listen, Galatians 6:5 tell us we are responsible for our own conduct. That's one verse, 6:5. For we are each responsible for our own conduct. Point blank. You are responsible, right? We are responsible whether we are living in abundance or poverty. You are responsible. Whether you are living free or in bondage, you are responsible. Whether you are living in joy or sadness, you are responsible. I know we don't like to hear it, but we are responsible, right? Because why? Romans 14:12 tell us, yes, because each of us, I wish I could take somebody with me, but each of us will have to give a personal account to God. Each of us will stand before the king. Listen, the life you live is yours. Okay. I wish I could take some folk with me and say, Lord, it's this one right here. No, each of us, right? So we want to get into a mindset, because it is a mindset where we understand that, listen, I am responsible. I am responsible. I am going to figure out what I need to figure out as far as getting healed, as far as getting delivered, as far as forgiving, whatever it is I need to do, because the buck stops here. Yeah, it do. And I am going to live my most abundant life. Yes, I will. And I am going to do it by the power of God. Yes, I will. And I am. Come on, die. I am. That's a scripture. The great I. Anyway, let me not go there. But I am going to do just that, right? Because you can do it. You can do it. Good morning, my sis, Georgia. Oh my gosh, thanks for being here this morning. So listen, y'all, thank you all for being here on today. Yes, because I'm running past my time. Y'all can see my clock back there. It's about at the half. So it's about time for us to wrap it up right here. Thanks for joining me on today. Listen, we're going to continue Wednesday. I'm here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we're going to continue Wednesday discussing some other aspects, right? Because I'm telling you, we're going to keep digging into this. It's been a while since I've spent this much time on goals and all that kind of stuff. But y'all, we really need to get to the place where we're able to understand what is keeping us in the place that we're in, right? That's all I'm trying to do. Help us see what is the thing that's keeping me or blocking me or not allowing me to progress, because we need to progress. So listen, thanks for joining me on today. Listen, let me just remind you quickly that I have an event, save the date, 9/27/25. We're going to have the Kingdom Wealth Warriors Summit here in Houston, Texas. So I hope that you just save that date. Just save that date, right? More information to come on that. Until then, you know what I'm going to say. Go have your